a great 7 days. And Steve, I got a little something.
Yeah? What you got?
Every time we go international or whenever someone says brand new mule person, they're going to get a little bit of a cowbell. So
They're going to get the cowbell.
It's quite loud here in the office, so not that I don't want to use it, but we'll see how often we have to use it. But that's going to be a lot of fun. We'll try that out today. How are you doing, Steve?
Doing just dandy, just dandy. We also want to get you measured up so I can get you a cowboy hat.
That's right. And I will wear it on the broadcast. I will wear it proud. Oh, you know what? I got to turn this off right here. I had the YouTube stream opened up on a different window, and it's starting to play. My apologies, folks. So let's get right into it. My name is Dave. This is Steve. We're here to talk mules and donkeys for the next hour. If you have any questions, if you are just along for the ride, we just want to say welcome. We're glad that you're here. This program is 100% all about you and what you have going on with your animal. So really, there's three things we ask, and we say this every single week. The number one thing, just let us know that you're here. Put your name and where you're watching in the comment section. Let us know that you're watching, that you're with us. Steve and I love talking and spending time together. But quite frankly, if you guys aren't here, Steve and I can do that over the phone anytime we want. So we set this time aside for you, and we want to hear from you. So your name and where you're watching from. The second thing that we ask is that you ask any and every question that you've got. Yes, some of the questions that we get are repeats from previous week. No, we do not want you to not ask those questions. Yes, we want you to ask any and every question that you've got. And a lot of times we wind up having the same question asked in a different way. And so we love those questions because it allows us to answer it from a different angle and bring insight and illumination from a different angle. So ask any and every question. And the third thing is, if you are watching on Facebook, we just ask that you tag someone in the comment section or push the share button below and post it on your page with just a comment about what you love about the program, what you love about spending time with us, what you love about the show that we have going on here. So that's what we're going to do. Let me see here. We've got Marty over on YouTube hanging out with us. We've got Richard from East Texas. He says, I permanently deactivated from Facebook, so it is tube. I'm on an iPad. Hope it works. What a great day. Richard, we hope it works for you too, and we're glad that we're broadcasting on YouTube so you can catch us as well. We've got Jerry from Benson, Arizona hanging out with us. We've got David Pengelly here. We've got Neil Campbell saying, hey guys, glad to be here from Peshko, Wisconsin. So that's the first time I've ever said that. Did I say it right, Steve? Do you know?
Close enough.
Neil, did I say it right? Peshtigo. Maybe that's it. Peshtigo. So with that, we're going to get right into the questions for this week. So like I said, if you have any questions, go ahead, put them in the comment section, and we will get to them. So the first question that I have this week, Steve, is what does this is a question we get quite a bit. What does the breeching do for the mule, and why do you have to ride with the breeching always? What does the breeching do for the mule, and why do you have to ride with it always? I'll let you take it over. This is a very, very popular question.
Oh, yeah, and I hear it all the time. And I was just talking to a lady in Texas, and she says, well, I just had this mule given to me, and but I was going to ride in the crooper. And I says, well, you must not like your mule. And I was kind of kidding with her. She says, what do you mean? I says, well, I said, that there crooper, I had some clients call me here a couple years ago, and three of them almost in a row. One lady had a colt she just raised. One guy had been riding mules about 10, 15 years. Another guy had been riding mules over 25 years. Each one of them won a crooper ring put on my saddle. And I said, I will not put a crooper ring on there. If you want to, you do it. And they said, why? I said, because when you break the tail of your mule, you're going to have to put it down. Oh, I've been riding all these years, yada, yada. And, of course, this lady said, I've been talking to all these guys, and this was just fine. Long story short, all three of them called me back, all three of them, and had to put their mules down because they broke the tail on the mule's back. And here's what happens. See, when that tail crooper is around that tail, and then they go and loosen it up because they just rub the hide on that tail, and then they put the tail crooper on there, and the tail crooper The tail comes straight up in the air. That's what breaks it over. And then boom, you got a broken tail. So, okay, so let's go on back. The reason we have to have a breeching is because our mules are V-shaped in their shoulders, where horses are A-shaped in their shoulders. So see, with the A-shape, the saddle's only going to go so far. That's why a horse, you put a breast collar on it to keep the saddle from going back. You put a breeching on from keeping going forward. Now, that's the shoulders. Now, look at your front cinch, folks. It's at an angle because your mule is hourglass belly toward the shoulders. So with that cinch being at an angle, it's going to bring that saddle forward. It's what it's going to do. It's part of what the way the mule is made, because they carry their weight down low. Horses carry their weight up high. So then that's the next part. And then, now, the breeching is not there to keep the saddle back. It is to help keep the saddle back. The most important part, folks, of your saddle to keep the saddle in place is your rear cinch. And people say all the time, oh, well, I'm afraid he's going to buck, or he might get upset. Well, listen, he got upset the first time the bit was put in his mouth. He got upset the first saddle you put on him. That's part of life. When something new comes around, it takes us a while to get used to it. That's okay, all right? But here's the thing. Without that breeching, when your cinches start getting loose and your saddle goes forward, well, that saddle then is going to roll and it's going to go forward. But the breeching, what it does is there's two straps on each side. Come up on the right and the left, and they go underneath the D-ring of the saddle, right underneath your fenders. Those two straps keep the saddle from going right and left. That keeps the saddle from rolling, all right? Now, then the two straps across the back, they go to the bar on the right and the left side. Their purpose is to help keep the saddle from going forward. Notice I said help to, because here's what happens. Watch your breeching straps, folks. You're going to see them moving like this. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And what happens is, as the hips move, when the right hip hits the breast, hits the breeching, it helps set the saddle in place. Then the left hip, then the right hip, and then it sets everything into place. So without that breeching, folks, that saddle is going to go forward. Without that breeching, that saddle is going to roll. Now, on a crouper, you have no adjustments. None. On a breeching, you have up to 12 inches worth of adjustment, depending on your hip. Now, you're going to go down a steep hill. None of you just let your truck go on down. You hit the brakes slow to slow down the trailer. And so that's the purpose of the breeching. You lower the breeching so that the mule sets down into the breeching. And when it sets down on the breeching, helps hold the saddle back. Remember, when you put the breeching on and you first adjusted it, you adjusted it on flat ground. But depending on your terrain is how you adjust it. We got some good videos out on that, and we got some articles about it too, Dave. But that's in general. That's it. Folks, if I hear people say to me, well, I don't want to put all that stuff on, then go back to a horse. Just go back to a horse, because there's more to it with a mule. Well, the mule's not showing any pain. Well, that's the problem. They're not showing it right now, but go down the road. I wish I had my scapula here to show people, But go down the road, you're going to have problems. So there it is in a nutshell. There's more to a breeching than just that strap around the butt. It has to be made correctly. It has to be balanced to start with. And we got some new stuff up and coming, huh, Dave?
Yeah, we do. As a matter of fact, I put a link in the comment section to the Mule Saddle training course, and we go into depth on how the cinch, how the breast collar, how the breeching all work together with the saddle to keep it from, what is it? It gives about 1.5 inches of give on the front and on the back, and how they work together to prevent the saddle from rolling. We've got footage over on YouTube of one of our clients, Toby, who is he's a big boy, and he gets up on that saddle stays still. We actually have a video. I think it's of Eric Palmer getting on the saddle and he doesn't actually have any tack or anything, which is a testament to the way the saddle is meant to fit on the mule. So we don't recommend riding without it, but he's saying, hey, can your saddle do this? And so he doesn't have anything. And so I put a link in the comment section. Want to make sure folks know they can go and get that training video for free. Steve, we've got some more people hanging out with us now. We got Mark Miller from Pennington Gap, Virginia. A tip for today, don't leave the gate open. They went about half a mile before I caught them. Led one back, the other follow. So glad to hear that, Mark. Marty Moss, hi, Steve and Dave. Marty from DeBeck. Aspen trees are changing to beautiful gold color. Down to business. Using the come-along rope. How do I get my mule Doc to stand still? All right, Steve. Using the come-along rope, how do I get the mule to stand still?
Okay, the first thing you've got to remember, folks, that if you want something to stand still, what goes first? The nose. So when the nose goes, so goes the feet. And then the back feet, and it goes from there. So what do we want to tell? We want to fix the problem before the problem becomes a problem, right? So before the feet move, when the nose moves, a slight bump, ask, boom. If they still intend on keep on going ahead and moving the nose, bump, bump, ask, tail, bump, bump, and then if we have to, demand, bump, 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 bump. And listen, folks, they don't want that demand, so they'll be right back to that, just a slight bump. But now remember, on the come-along rope, now, Dave, and we've got one client that had done this. They meant to buy the kit, and they only bought the halter. And so Tara needed the video as well. And see, that's the whole thing, folks, is we got a kit that shows you how to do it. How many people do you know out there that says, here's a halter, here's a video? That's what we got. So that you know how to do it. It's important to us that you get trained to know how to adjust that halter.
Yeah, so I'm going to put a link, Ground Foundation Starting Kit. I'm going to put that here in the comment section. That Ground Foundation Starting Kit, it has everything that you need to do all of the groundwork. And I know that it's very exciting. I traveled down to Andrade Ranch with Steve, getting ready to travel down there again here in October. Traveled down to Andrade Ranch with Steve, and spending a little bit of time around the animals, knowing that we were going to ride, you get excited about that. I don't get to ride mules very often. I don't get to ride equine very often. And so you get excited. You want to just get into the saddle and you want to start going. I felt that.
Wow.
The amount of time that it takes to put the saddle on and get it correct, took about 30 minutes for us to go through, get it correct, walk the mule around. And that's the thing. You can't change the words horse with mule. If you ever hear someone interchanging the word horse with the word mule, you know, hey, that's probably a horse trainer right there. That's probably a horse person. The mule person says mule. So it's very exciting to get in the saddle. But what we have in this Ground Foundation Starting Kit is the basics of what you need to do on the ground, because what I have learned from watching Steve and all of Steve's clients and all of the clinic participants, if you don't have control on the ground, you don't have control in the saddle. And you're looking at a possible wreck and hurting yourself if you get in that saddle without control. So we won't say anything else more about that. We'll probably get to it a little bit more. I want to make sure to welcome everybody else here. Real quick, if this is your first time ever hanging out with us, my name's Dave. This is Steve, and we spend an hour talking mules and donkeys. So we want to know that you're here. Put your name, put your where you're watching from in the comment section so we can say hello to you personally. We really love doing that. Number 2, ask your question. Any and every question. Doesn't matter if you've heard us answer it before and you want to ask it again. Doesn't matter if you're like, I don't know, this is a horse question. Would Steve answer a horse question? You know what? Sometimes we lower our standards and ask a horse question here or there. No, we'd be happy to help you. Steve knows horses too. This is just dedicated mostly to the mules and donkeys. But hey, we're here for all the equine folks. So put your question in there, and then we ask that you share the broadcast. Share it with friends and family who you know would really appreciate having a community they can go to when they get stuck, when they need a little bit more instruction. Speaking of folks who are part of the community, Jana from Wyoming is watching, says, I learn so much from you every week. Jana, we're glad that you're here. Judy is watching. Howdy, Steve and Dave. I'm from Norco. Poor Miss Daisy got stung by a bee on her eyelid last week when we were out camping and riding. She's fine now, just a few bad days for her. We're sad to hear that, but I'm glad she's doing better now, Judy. Eric Palmer's watching. Eric, we're just talking about you. Glad you're here. Beth, hi, Steve and Dave. This is my favorite part of Wednesday. Beth from New Hampshire. Thank you so much, Beth. I appreciate that. Karen from Raymond, California, watching. Cindy Calloway, hi, guys. How's it going? From Bakersfield, California. We've got Rebecca. Hello, Steve and Dave, watching from Benson, North Carolina. We will be hosting our 70th year of sponsoring Mule Days beginning this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Yeehaw! So there you go.
Have to do that someday.
Mule Days, North Carolina. Taylor, chiming in from Salt Lake, talked with Steve earlier this week. My dad and I both talked with Steve earlier in the week. We ended up ordering How to Communicate DVDs and the Ground Foundation starting kit. Taylor, keep us in the loop of how things are coming along, and don't be afraid to reach out to Steve and give him a call if you need anything. Steve, ain't that right?
That's right. That's right.
We got Sherry from Pensacola, Florida, giving more important info on mules and giving your time to us who need it. Sherry, it's our pleasure. I know I speak for Steve when I say it truly is a pleasure. Eileen from Nebraska, Tracy from Lake Como, Karen from Central Michigan. My husband and I had a great hunting trip to Wyoming. My new trail light saddle was great. We love hearing that. David Scholl, good morning from Australia. Starting to heat up here now.
Australia, does that mean the bell goes off?
Australia, we've gone international. There we go. We've gone international. David Scholl taking us international. Keith from Missouri watching. Susan from Kingman, Arizona. Robert from Mississippi. Keith says, thank you for your call this week, Steve. Always great to talk to you. Man, we've got a lot of friends here today. So I'm coming back over here to YouTube. We've got another question here. This one comes from Richard. A trainer suggested cutting the crown in two places to get the blanket. Wait, let's see. Did I miss the first part of it? Okay. Nope, that's it. A trainer suggested cutting the crown in two places to get the blanket from rubbing on the back of the mule. I have a Steve Edwards blanket and not saddled up my mule mat. Your opinion, sir? So what's he asking there, Steve, and what's your answer?
Well, evidently he's wanting to cut out. There's 3 bumps on the spine of a mule, and what we used to do, we used to cut it out and to keep from rubbing on it. But the back of my saddle pad has a place up so that it doesn't ride on that place. So you don't have to cut my pad because it has that rise. Now, the question would come to my mind now, is your saddle that you're using, is it stitched up in the back? And where the back of the cantle comes in behind the cantle, it stitches up. And a lot of horse saddles do that. Jess, leave it. And so, Jess, leave it. He hears the horse out in the trailer. And so, anyway, if it's stitched across the back, folks, you got to take that stitching out of there. That's rubbing on a mule's back, and that's one of the reasons you don't use a horse saddle. One of many reasons that you don't. So take a look at that. It won't be my pad that's rubbing because the pad's already designed to go around that.
So I put a picture, or I put a link in the comment section to a saddle pad. The triple duty saddle pad is the best one that shows it, but all of Steve's saddle pads have the elevation in the spine. So you'll see the saddle pad comes together like this, but then right here where the two edges meet, there's an elevation right there that accommodates those 3 bumps of the spine. So I just put a link to the triple duty so you can see that, Steve. Yeah,
it's actually back toward the back. You'll see, yes, we do have it where it's
in the
up.
Back near the rump area.
Back,
yeah,
it comes up, and as it comes up, there's where it's up off the back. So if you've got a saddle, though, folks, that is sewed up in the back, that's what they do with horses. You can't do that with a mule. When it's sewed up across the back and it's not flexible, you're going to wear on those 3 bumps, and you will create a fistula. So it won't be a good deal.
Let's see, everything. We've got an article on everything you need to know about the saddle, and it shows that portion of it in greater detail. So I'll put a link in there as well. Let's see here. Next question that we got. This one comes from Paul. Paul says, hey, Steve, have you ever heard of a donkey with the lung issue COPD?
Yeah, that's what they say it is, and that would mean they were around a lot of fertilizer or something like that, or like, I don't know what part of the country they're in, but some parts of the country, like if you buy hay from Yuma, it's really dusty, and and that dust will create a problem. But I'm not that familiar with COPD in any type of equine.
Okay. All right, so there you go, Paul. If you find out anything, do come back and report to us so that we can have that in the can ready to go for the next person who asks. That would be great. We've got Larry from southwestern Montana watching. We're happy to have you here. Richard's following up. He says, I got a trail light saddle. Thank you for answering. So it sounds like he's got what he needs. He has your pad. He has your saddle.
Good.
That's going to relieve any of the pressure that are on the rear there with the 3 bumps that are elevated.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
So there's no need to do anything extra. But, Richard, if you do have any concerns after getting it all saddled up, take a picture, send a text message to Steve. His phone number's on the website. Send a text message to him, and Steve will be sure to take a look, and get back to you and let you know if there's anything you should be concerned with.
Yeah, and let's touch on this a minute.
Yeah, go for it.
This is really important. You know, people use all kinds of saddles. And then they get my saddle and think, okay, it's the fix-all, which it is. But got to remember this. If they were riding in an incorrect saddle to start with, it could have been creating the problem, and now the problem sticks out, and especially with those 3 vertebrae, because people who ride horse saddles, it's stitched up and stuff in the back. So if it's puffy, don't palpate it. Okay, don't do that, because a lot of people palpate it, and they palpate it incorrectly. When you do it, you barely take your hand and barely go across the hair. No more than that. Do not push, because in that area, it's really easy, because of the amount of trauma from the saddle, it's really easy to make them shrink. So when you palpate that area, just go across it nice and quiet. Watch for any type of hair off of the bones.
All right. So the next question I got, this one was an email in from, let's see here, Rebecca. And Rebecca asked the question, crushed heels. How can this be stopped? How can crushed heels be stopped? So can you explain to me what we might be talking about there?
Crushed heels. She must be talking about contracted heels?
I think Rebecca's watching right now.
I'm not familiar with that term, crushed heels. It could be that maybe the heels are coming in. That's still contracted.
All right, let's see. I think Rebecca. No, it's a different Rebecca. Okay, we'll have to get more. Clarity on that. Okay, the next question that we got, which folks, if you're just tuning in, Dave and Steve here, excited to have you. Go ahead, let us know that you're watching. Put your name and where you're watching from in the comment section. Ask your questions, and then make sure to invite any of your Facebook friends to come in and spend some time with us. This question right here, this one comes from Taylor. So you had spent some time on the phone with Taylor and her father earlier this week. Says, here's a bit of a different question. I've grown up using the training methods from Tom Dorrance, Brian Newbert, etc., but my family mostly uses Pat Pirelli circa 1990s through early 2000s as our training method. I've strayed quite a bit from his programs. Does Steve have any input on using the 7 games, etc., with mules? So explain to me what those 7 games are, and then I know that all the different trainers have different methods. And one thing I'll say it for Steve, just in case he doesn't say it. One thing you will hear Steve say is, hey folks, I'm just telling you what I've learned from 40 plus years of working with these animals. If you've got something that works for you, do it. I'm just going to share with you what works for me, and I'll tell you why it works. So that said, Steve, I know that different trainers have different approaches. Will you share with me just a little bit to answer Taylor's question here? Is it okay to kind of stray away, etc.?
Oh, yeah. Well, here's the deal. What Pat Pirelli has done is he's put names on training techniques and call them like 7 games and the carrot stick and this sort of thing. And he has helped out thousands of people. Him and his wife have done a great job going worldwide with this training techniques. And, you know, I'm going to tell you that I'm not familiar with the games and things like this. All I can tell you is what works for me is what you see on my videos and what's on the YouTube. Brian Newberg, and I know Pat Pirelli personally. Tom Dorrance, I knew personally. You know, and Tom has got to be like the godfather of good quiet techniques. So what Pat Pirelli did was put names on household names, backyard horseman names. In other words, not professional cowboys, ranchers, things like this. He put the family horsemen. He put names on this so that the people could think about that and use the techniques. You know, so the come along hitch is only been used by me. I showed Tom Dorrance it several years ago when I was with Tom. He really liked it. He called it a war bridle, which it is. It's one of 7 war bridles, but it's actually probably the best of the bunch that I learned from Nick West. And so the guys she's talking about there, those people are the #1 faces in the horse world. You know, old Tom, he told me one time, he says, you know, Steve, I went to pick up the front foot of a mule, and I still got the use of my nose. And that basically said the back foot come up and got him on his nose. Now, Tom coined this. You hear John Lyons and Pat Pirelli and all these guys saying this same thing. But Tom says it like this: mules are like horses, only more so. That's what Tom says, you know. So I would say if it works for you and you're happy with it, use it. The big division you're going to see with me and Pat Pirelli and Brian is you're going to see the adjustment of the halter. That's so different than anybody else. You're going to see me talking about the come-along hitch. So different from anybody else. When you see the video Problem Mule Build a New Foundation, you're going to see a buckaroo cowboy from Montana and how he had tried to use different horse techniques and it didn't work. And so he didn't come to me. And you can see it in the video how we make this mule that was a real problem. Had to get his ear almost cut off and these other things. But anyway, see, the end result is the groundwork that I done. And so, you know, if it works for you, use it. That's what I say, you know.
There we go. So Taylor, great question. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Want to make sure that we welcome Kathy from Cotati, California. We've got Tracy Foley saying, love the cowbell. So we'll see if we've got anybody else here gone international, and we'll ring it again. Let's see. Judy says, Steve Edwards pad. Love my Steve Edwards pad. So does Daisy. We love hearing that. Tracy says, hi, Steve and Dave from Queensland, Australia. Here we go. International. Queensland, Australia.
Hey,
we're glad you're here, Tracy. Neil Campbell says, my mule has never had shoes. I wanted to ask my farrier to shoe her. Is there a certain type of shoe that I should use?
No, I basically take what's called, the name brand is called St. Croix. St. Croix. And then I take that shoe and I shape it according to the foot. And yes, folks, you got to put shoes on your mules. Don't listen to people who say you don't have to, you better. Now, we've got some up-and-coming pictures and videos and this sort of thing of contracted heels. And the back of this mule's heel is only about 1 inch wide. That's it. And so the shoer is working. It's probably one of the worst contracted heels I have ever seen. It's a mess. And the shoer is working, and I'm working with the shoer. We did a 3-way conversation. He's doing videos. So y'all going to see a lot of stuff on YouTube coming up pretty soon about contracted heels and how to fix them.
I found St. Croix on online. Put a link in the comments section so folks can check it out there. Yep. Let's take a look. Next question we got here. This one comes from Larry. Larry sent us an email. Says, really enjoy your videos. I'm an old mule boy myself. My 14-year-old mule doesn't like putting a gun on and off into the scabbard. Any tips?
Get the come along hitch out. Anytime you got something that the mule don't like, folks, you train from the nose. Nose. That's what's important. That's why you adjust the halter down on the nose. That's why you use the come along hitch using the nose. If the mule has flight and fright tendencies, which they all do, that's the nature of an equine is flight and fright. He's concerned about that rifle and that scabbard. All right. That's not a problem, and it's still a very fixable problem. So just put the come along hitch on, and when you go to tap the scabbard and the mule gets worried, remember where the nose goes the mule. So fix the nose before the feet go. So you mess with the scabbard and you bump with you come along hitch, and then pretty soon they start thinking that it's not such a bad deal at scabbard after all. And remember, folks, we're not going to train every day. 3 today, give it a week, another 3, give it 9 days, another 3, 6, 9, 12. But don't try to do it all in one day. The mule's brain can't handle that. It's not much bigger than a walnut, folks, and that's going to hold all this information. So you do it 3, 6, 9, 12. Three times, one time, the way you like it, where the mule's quiet, the mule's head's down is quiet, his ears are quiet. 3 good ones. It may take you 10 to get the 3, but that's okay. And then the next time you train, 15 hours later, 15 days later, do the next 3, and then 3, 6, 9, 12, and build a foundation.
So let's go ahead and let's ask this next one. Bobby Joe sent a message in asking, I have a 12-year-old John that wants to stop. Should I just go back to groundwork?
Wants to stop?
Yeah, just they just want to stop. I think walking, and then they just want to stop on their own.
Oh, yeah. Okay, number one, no, you don't need to do any groundwork. What you need to do is use your legs. You're going to put your snaffle bit on. That's your training procedure. A snaffle bit, folks, is only for training. It is not for everyday riding. Okay, so put your snaffle bit on, put your spurs on, use your legs. If she wants to stop, then let's use our legs. That is impulsion. That is forward motion. So we're going to ask with our calves, tail with the side of our stirrups, demand with the spur. Not going to harpoon them with the spur, folks. They don't need it. Ask, tail, demand. Okay? So we're going to make them uncomfortable with their legs. That's not going to do it. More uncomfortable with the side of their stirrups. That doesn't do it. Then demanding with the spur. You know, and always do everything at home. Do everything in a round pen, but have the snaffle bit, because here's what's going to happen. The mule's not going to know what to do, so you're going to have to go right, left, right brain, listen to me, left brain, listen to me, because he's going to try several things to try to figure out what the problem is. But you're definitely going to have to use your spurs, folks.
All right, next question we got here. This one's over on YouTube. This one is, actually, before we get to that, Susan is watching from Western Pennsylvania. Perfect weather out there. Glad to hear that, Susan.
Susan Henderson. Yeah. Good.
Larry says, thanks for answering my question, Larry. It's our pleasure. Paul has another question. He says, what about feeding beet pulp to donkeys?
Perfect. Beet pulp is great, folks. It does a good job of cleaning out the insides. I usually give it to my mules and donkeys wet, not soaking wet, but just good and damp. And I usually will hide some meds and this sort of thing in there as well if I want to sneak that through. But I tell you, when you feed your beet pulp, so that they get enough salt, that's one of the things that our mules and donkeys are lax on, is their salt and their zinc. So by putting a little bit of rock salt in with it, they're going to get their salt. They got to have salt. Put your salt lick out there, a 50-pound block, and let them do that. But if they're not doing that, then you've got to make sure you give them some salt by giving them some rock salt.
Awesome. Very good. All right, let's see here. Eileen says, I can't wait to see farrier videos. Yeah, Eileen, that'll be good.
This is going to be pretty awesome, because this guy is every single foot, steps of the way, probably about 10 minutes a foot. So we did the first beginning, so it's going to be pretty awesome. You're going to see it there on YouTube, beginning to end.
All right. So, folks, real quick, if I just want to make sure that if this is your first time watching, my name's Dave. This is Steve. We spend an hour every Wednesday just talking about mules and donkeys. Folks who have been here week after week after week, Eileen, Rebecca, Tracy, David, Di, so many folks come and spend time with us, and you'll see in the comment section they ask their questions, they're making comments. Well, we want to know that you're here too. If this is your first time, or if you haven't let us know that you're watching, just put your name and where you're watching from in the comments section. Now, Steve, I know that there are a lot of folks who actually tune into us while they're working. So they may have their phone in their back pocket and they're listening on their earphones. They might be streaming from another device. So if you're one of those folks, just want you to know that we know that you're there. We know that you're listening. And if you're one of those folks who likes to listen while you work, and you're listening to one of the podcast episodes or an old replay on YouTube, we're glad that you're here too. So go ahead, make sure that you let us know that you're here. Number 2, ask your question. And number 3, make sure you share the broadcast. That is the best way you can show your appreciation for the time that we take in putting this program together. We do it for you, and we want to get it in front of as many folks as possible. And with that, Kate's got a question here. Kate says, Kate from Washington State just brought a donkey home yesterday. Big girl. I am ready to order a saddle and the works. Please remind me of the links that help to measure for girths, breast collar, britchin. I'm pretty sure I know how to measure for the bit, but I'm unsure about the headstall. I ordered a large halter in the ground foundation starter kit. It barely fits her big old head. We were able to move the knots around. She's a mammoth. I want to make sure I order the right size headstall. I'm not sure about the seat size. I've ridden English years ago. Should I sit in some saddles of a tack store? Thank you guys for helping. It's been amazing. So I'll get her the link to the Mule Saddle training course. But do you want to talk real quick just about fitting in general? We don't have to go into super detail because folks can get the course for that. There's 13 videos, but just talk a little bit.
Well, folks, what I usually almost always do is ask you your height and weight. And I know a lot of ladies don't like to answer that, but I've been pretty fortunate so far. They've all said, and everybody says the same thing. I'm going to lose about 20 pounds, Steve, but right now I need a whatever it is. We're all doing that. Matter of fact, my wife and I are getting ready to go through some program where we eat only meat. So it's my kind of weight loss program. Anyway, I'll tell you more about that later. But yeah, seat size and when you make your orders, I'm always going to call you back. I'm going to go over the order with you. I'm going to make sure of things that you got. But I think you got enough stuff there that they can find out how to measure for cinches. And seat size depends on your weight. For instance, I'm 5'6", I weigh 207 right now, and you're going to see me different in about 30 days anyway. And I've been riding a 16 all my life. And usually I'm right around 180, 185 pounds. So I've been riding a 16. So it's our thigh size between the pommel and the cantle. It's our thigh size between there. That's it. It's not our rump size.
Awesome. Very good. So I put a link in the comment section to that course. It's free. The videos are broken down by section. The longest one is 29 minutes, and that is the full saddle fitting video where Steve goes through adding everything and then adjusting, getting the mule to walk around, and then making the necessary adjustments to get your 1.5 inches of give in the front, your 1.5 inches of give in the back, and just a really, really great course. So if you have not gone through that yet, again, it's free. Really encourage y'all to go through that. So we've got Micah. Been a while since I've been able to join. Micah, we're glad that you're here. And Rebecca has a question. Rebecca says, Steve, how do you desensitize an ear-shy mule? So number 1, what is an ear-shy mule? Number 2, what do we mean by desensitize? And 3, can you do it?
Okay. Can you do it? Yes, you can. It's probably one of the toughest things that you have to fix on a mule. So let's go back where we should go back from, and how does the ear becomes a problem? 99% of the time, the reason the ear is a problem is because we put the bridle on the same every single day. We put the bridle on. So as we're doing this, we put the bridle in the mouth, and then we put it over the right ear, and then we put it over the left ear. Here's the problem with that. Every time we bump the mouth, even though we don't mean to do it hard, it's still sensitive, it still gets bumped, and finally one day it's sensitive enough that the mule says, I've had enough, and he knows that as soon as you go to pull and put it over the ear, he's going to throw his head. All you have to do to fix that problem is loosen it up, folks. Take your mules, loosen up your bridle a couple notches, slide the bridle off. Leave it off. Then when you get ready to put it on, you put it on loose. 2 notches loose. Now here's the thing. In the very beginning, you want to teach your mule how to pack the bit. Starting with the snaffle bit, it's the lightest. So you loosen up the snaffle bit, where it hangs all the way down, bumping the incisors. Now, Dave, I saw a really good a picture that Barbara just sent to me, and it shows the bit way down bumping on the mule's mouth. It's perfect because you see, most folks don't think, oh, that's how can that be? Allow the mule to reach down, pick up the bit, and pack it, And that's what Dale is doing right now in Texas. He's finding out that the bit that I sent him was a good bit, but the mule was not ready for that finished bit yet, So how does it get started? It gets started by having, number one, folks, your bridle. Let's go measure your brow band. That comes across the front. It should measure 19 inches, minimum 19 inches for the average saddle mules, okay? 19 inches. Less than that, that means you're pinching on the ears and you're making them super uncomfortable. So that's one thing. You have to also remember the bridle balances the bit. You use a special adjustment of bridle for a snaffle bit, and you use a special adjustment of bridle for a finished bit. It's not just a bridle that hangs on the head, folks. It's how it positions the bit in their mouth. So always, 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 when you take the bit off, loosen it up 2 notches, pull it off. When you go to put it back on, let the mule pick the bit up and hold it where he likes it, adjust it to that spot. Do not create 1 wrinkle or 2 wrinkles. That was fine back in the 1800s when the Army was using that thought, and we shouldn't be using it now. Horses, mules, donkeys need to learn how to pick up the bit and carry it. Show us where the best place is, where that bit is.
So you may have answered this. I was going through seeing what other questions we have. So if you already answered this, that's fine. But when you talk about the wrinkles, do not create 2, 3 wrinkles. What do you actually mean by creating a wrinkle? I'm not sure.
Right here in the corner of the mouth where the bit goes.
Yeah.
To keep the bit, people get worried about the tongue getting over the top of the bit. If the tongue is getting over the top of the bit, you have it too high. And all the mule is trying to tell you is, hey, this ain't uncomfortable in my mouth. So the wrinkles are right here in the corner of the mouth. It creates a wrinkle like this. Don't do that. Allow the mule to reach down, pick up the bit, and carry it. He will create the wrinkles.
Got it.
He will show you where he likes it. And folks, look, it takes an average of 6 months for a mule to get used to a particular bit. 6 months. 4 to 6 hours a week is a lot when it comes down to training, but it takes 6 months for them to get it in their head that the bit is there, I can't tell you how many people say they've gone to a hackamore because they wouldn't get used to the bit. No. Then all of a sudden now they had a runaway because they can't stop them, If you can, on a hackamore, and that's with nothing in their mouth, if you can ride 80% off your legs, ride with a hackamore.
So this is the last question that I have. So folks, if you've got any questions, go ahead, put them in the comment section. Excuse me. This one comes from Nicole. Hi, Steve and Dave. Shout out from Eastern Oregon. We'll take it. Says, I want to train my young John to drive. Can I use a regular horse-style harness, or do I need a special one for mules? I have a harness and bridle with a snaffle. I was getting ready to order your driving bit for foundation training. Will that combo work for me?
Yeah, usually it does. It usually works out pretty fair. I've made a lot of changes in the harness to get it to where it's pretty easy to work on a mule. Don't use the bridle, the blinders, the blinkers when you're training. Let the mule see everything, hear everything when you're doing this. I prefer to hook him up next to another good old mule that knows what he's doing, or a good old horse that knows what he's doing. Your first few hookups makes a big difference. But don't start with blinders. If you do, you'll have a runaway on your hands. Do not use a smooth snaffle bit. A smooth snaffle bit, he'll run right through it with no problem at all. Usually that's what comes with most blinkers, is a smooth snaffle bit.
There you go. So that's all the questions that I have for this week. A little bit lighter this week. I think folks are getting back to what you got. You got some?
I got Eric Palmer.
You got Eric Palmer.
Eric Palmer. He called me today. Now, he's been using my new Cowboy saddle.
Okay.
His saddle we've had over at at the saddle shop. They've been reworking it. It's all done. So he says, Steve, I like this saddle so much, let me buy it. So I had this saddle made for me, And the saddle that I'm sending to him now, I have that saddle made for me too. So he's getting first run saddles that nobody else has ridden.
Yeah.
Anyway, so anyway, long story short is this. He said, Steve, if you know of anybody, and this is going out worldwide right now.
Yeah.
If you know anybody looking for a super quality mule, get this. This is an imported Dutch warm blood horse. And you can't see a whole lot of in the pictures and things like this. I don't know, is it too much window on there?
Back it up just a little bit. There you go. Scroll it down just a little bit. Can you scroll the picture down just a little bit?
Oh, let's see. Scrolling. Oh, yeah, here. This fancy stuff. I'm not used to this stuff. There we go. Okay. There's a picture of the mule at the top. You see that okay?
Yeah.
You see him running with his mother. That paint horse.
Yeah.
That's a Dutch warm blood mule. You will have the only one in the United States.
Wow.
Dutch warm blood. If you are looking to ride dressage and you want a mule that's going to whip the socks off of horses, here the mule is. A Dutch warm blood, folks, is one of those really awesome super horses when it comes down to doing dressage, all the perfection of riding, They went black. Anyway, Eric's got the mule for sale, and if you want to email me or text me or something like that, I'll be happy to give you Eric's information. Matter of fact, I'll just give it to you right now here on the phone. Yeah, I can do that, can't I? Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. So anyway, this is it's a one in a lifetime horse. If you are a dressage rider and you want to ride that higher rate of riding in competitions, that mule right there is going to be it. So Eric Palmer, and he's an awesome trainer, folks. I mean, I really can't say enough about Eric. I've been to a couple of his clinics, and I've been pretty impressed. And he's going to go meet a guy by the name of Sean Peterson. If you want the ultimate of mule training, this sort of thing, that Sean Peterson out of Idaho is absolutely incredible. Okay. Now Eric Palmer's phone number. 641-414-4353, and tell them, folks, that I told you all about that Dutch warm blood. Pretty incredible. Get this now. This mule is only coming up on 3 years old. Eric did all the foundational training, all the first rides. He's coming up on 3 years old, and he's 16 hands now. His mother is over 17 hands. So you're talking about a lot of mule, that is made for competition. And it's got the brains for competition. So I throw that in there to you.
How neat. That's awesome. A couple other things that I want to add in there is we've got more resources than just this show right here. So I'm putting 2 links into the comments section. The first one is to Steve's YouTube channel, and that's got just free videos. It'll take you months to go through and watch them. Steve's YouTube channel, that's the first one. So if you have not spent time on Steve's YouTube channel, I want you to go over there and I want you to check it out. You can see all of the videos. And the other thing is we actually take the replays of this show and we put them on a podcast. And we put them on a podcast several months after they happen. So it's like watching a brand new show. So if you would like more of this, and you want it in the car, and you want it when you're out riding, and you want it when you're working, you can get it from the podcast. So you can subscribe from multiple places wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm putting a link in the show notes right here so you can check it out. And make sure that you go subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and have some good content there for you. Steve, we got a couple more people hopping on here. Did you have something you wanted to say?
I'm going to be, Susan and I are going to New Mexico 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And we're going to a ranch over there, and it's going to be some one-on-one training with the ranch managers and some of the owners and this sort of thing. Folks, this is where people make mistakes. And get this in your mind. When you buy a mule, just because you buy a mule don't mean he's got the knowledge. Just because you buy a trained mule don't mean you got the knowledge. Now, here's these folks. They bought a really beautiful mule, spent $15,000 for it now, all right? And it is a dressage mule. It does all the jumping and stuff. But folks, these folks want this for trail mule, not competition. So now they got a mule they can't use. They thought if they just got the mule, they'd do fine. If he's bred for working cows, then buy that. That's for cow working. But folks, when they're bred for just trail riding and halter classes and this sort of thing, that's what you're looking for. You don't want to breed. You don't want to own a trail mule that is built for competition like that Dutch warm blood. Okay. Now they've had some nice folks sell them some mules that really didn't have knowledge, evidently, and so now they got two mules over there, almost $25,000 worth of mules that they can't hardly do a thing with. So I'm going over there, and we're gonna do some training over in New Mexico. But when you buy a mule, folks, if you got questions, call me or look at all this YouTube stuff. But don't go in there spending the money just because it's supposed to be a trained mule. You know, most of them are not.
Yeah, we've heard that over and over and over again. So many of the messages that we get start off with, bought myself a new mule, trained, and then I get home and then it's, you know, so what's...
Now it's a butt mule.
Yeah, butt mule, right? That's exactly right. We had one of those last week. Hey, Yolanda's watching. Yeah, brains. Yolanda says brains only if they are willing to use them, right, Steve? By the way, I had a good chat with my mule and told her if she kept on making a temper tantrum, I would confine her behind bars, so she is smart, and she just leaves Trompo alone. Yolanda, Netherlands, International.
Trompo is her daughter's horse, and every time that horse gets out of her sight, the mule just goes bonkers, and I guess you could hear it all over the Netherlands. You know?
That's good. Micah sends so you're talking about that the warm blood Dutch mule. Micah says, oh, y'all are going to make some of these hardcore dressage folks mad. I've had some deep conversations with them and some about mule and dressage. They don't like getting beat by a mule.
Yes, and I tell you what, there are some mules out there right now that's in competition with these dressage animals, and they are making them look pretty silly. I mean, it's amazing right now, and it's hard to get in there because people think about a mule just being an old plow animal, you know. But look here, folks. You know, King Fernando from Spain gave George Washington 2 donkeys and brought them over here. And his daddy would not allow mules and donkeys, or he wouldn't allow mules to be bred because he had a lot of money in the horse world. Because them mules, they just blow the horse world away. You know, when they're bred right, folks, for what you want, it's amazing.
Sorry about that.
What'd you find?
My wife sent me a message, and I was messaging her back real quick. When the wife calls,
it's important.
You answer that. So there we go, Steve. That's pretty much it for the show today. Had some great questions. Got to see a lot of our friends. I hope folks are enjoying the cooler weather out there out here in Arizona. It's finally getting down under 100. It's nice. I was actually at 2 o'clock afternoon. I was walking around outside our building here in Chandler, Arizona. I'm about, about 50 minutes away from where you're at right now, about 50 minutes on the freeway. So first time, out here in Arizona, the valley's gotten real spread out. And used to, going 8 miles, you didn't have to go 8 miles to get anywhere. So the first time when I ever drove out to Steve's Ranch was probably back in 2005 or something like that. I planned it like I was taking a day trip because really, I mean, it's a while out there, but I thought to myself, well, this is halfway to California. And so I got in the car and I had myself some granola bars. I had myself some drinks to go with it. I planned on taking a stop to get lunch on the way. It really wasn't that far, but it felt like it the first time I was driving out there. Now it's a drive that I enjoy, and I like the. Of course, I didn't have kids then. Now I got kids, and so it's a nice, quiet ride on the way out there. I take that,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll be looking forward to it. We're still going to do the Andrada Ranch here next month.
Yep. That's what me and Sandra were actually texting back and forth about right here. Was confirming those dates. We're going to go down Andrada Ranch. If the kids don't go, I will go. So I will be there. We're going to see if the kids can make it, get some more pictures, have some more fun. They like it. I told you this, Steve, but Stevie, the little one. So my kids, they're 7, 5, and they're 2. And Stevie, he is real little. He's like a 1-year-old, 2-year-old. He's tiny. And so it was about I don't know, man, like 2 months, well into 2 months after our first time being down there spending time on the mule, Stevie would just look up at you and he'd go, just randomly, a mule? Mule? A me. You ride a mule? Yes. And he would do it, and he would go right back into it over and over and over. That boy loved riding the mule.
Yeah.
Do you remember we had to coach him to get off because he didn't want to get down.
I remember when we first tried to put him on, boy, he threw a fit.
He did not want it at the beginning.
Then we couldn't get him off.
That's exactly right. Well, what happened? We tried to get the helmet on him, and he didn't want a helmet on. And then he sees the older 2 boys going back and forth with the helmet. Steve, he literally got up from sitting with my wife, went over, found that helmet that we tried to put on him, and I'm riding back, and I look over, and I see him down there, and he is little 2-year-old Stevie trying to clip on the helmet because he wants to ride.
Yeah.
He was so excited.
That's
he
great.
Loved it.
Yeah, that's super. Well, I'm heading down to see Randy here just shortly. As soon as I hang up with you, we're going to go down to the Andrada, me and Susan and Jesse, and we're going to go down, spend the night, and I'm going to drop this horse off. A friend of mine has got this old horse. He's in his 20s, and they just don't want him anymore. They're not riding as much. And they like seeing him be used, and Randy's got all those kids down there and stuff, and this will make a nice horse to add to their little remuda there.
How good. Well, let's end with this last question here. This one's from Jarrett over on YouTube. Jarrett says, "Hi guys, if a mule is doing good in the Mule Riders Martingale, why do I need to change to a finished bit?"
Okay, so folks, a snaffle bit is to do communication to build a foundation. It communicates to the tongue and the corners of the mouth, the bars of the mouth. Now, what we want to do is go lighter, easier. A snaffle bit is a very heavy bit, very hard on the mouth when it's not used right, okay? So then what we want to do is we want to go to a finished bit, which has a port on it and breaks in 4 places. Oh. Pardon me.
Hey, you all right there, Steve?
Wow.
It's getting to be that time, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, I haven't had my nap yet, and I'm not going to have it either because I'm heading down. Anyway, so what we want to do now is we want to be lighter. So that finished bit, the trail bit, it barely whisks the roof of the mouth, and it's really light, really easy to the hands. So in other words, what we want to do, folks, we want to get better and better and better. With making it easier on the mule. Now, let's go back to the Mule Riders Martingale. If I'm going to go hunting or I'm going to go punch cows and I'm riding on a mule that I don't know much about, I'm going to put that Martingale on there. Trained mule or not, because with that Martingale, I can control anything. But it is not to be a permanent use bit program. Okay?
There we go. That's it. Steve, enjoy the trip down there. Don't fall asleep on the road. Get some oh man, who is your friend who's the musician? I'm loading up my pickup. I'm heading for the ranch.
Yeah, Joe Bear.
Joe Bear. Get some Joe Bear. Roll those windows down. Enjoy the cooler weather. Make sure you got some sunflower seeds or something like that, and enjoy your time down in Edrada.
I'm going to go make me some come along coffee right now.
That is what you need. You need the demand come along coffee.
Need the demand come along
late.
Coffee.
That's another time. You need the demand. Folks, thanks so much for spending some time with us. We are grateful and glad that you're here, giving us your attention, giving us your time. Honestly, that is one thing that you can never get back is your time. So the fact that you would spend some of your time with us, it really is an honor, and it's a pleasure for us to come and hang out. If you have any questions, always feel free to go to the website, muleranch.com. mulesaddles.com. You'll find Steve's phone number there. You can send him a message or leave a voicemail for him. He'll call you back. Or you can send a message to me, support@muleranch.com, especially if it has to do with the store or product. I can help point you in the right direction. But it is a privilege and an honor. We're very grateful, and we can't wait to see you next week. So y'all take care. Steve, we'll see you next week.
Adios.
All right, bye-bye, everyone.